Assalamulaikum. We are from class IC 2204D for group 7 with presentation our assignment titled The Roles of KPDNKK and MITI Ministry toward halal product regulation. Next, I will introduce our group members. First, Nordam Husna binti Muhazir. Second, Nurin Afika binti Azhari. Third, Shima Shahira binti Uzair. And lastly, Siti Surya binti Ahmad. The objective of our assignment: first, to study about the concept of KPDNKK and MITI Ministries. Second, to analyze the role of KPDNKK and MITI Ministries towards halal product regulation. And lastly, challenges faced by KPDNKK and MITI Ministry toward halal product regulation.
The Muslim country, Malaysia is one of the Muslim country in the world, which also emphasize about the Islamic immigration towards any halal products in Malaysia. Undeniably, we are constrained by an economic system in which our demands are regulated by an external power such as commerce. If such a system develops stronger from time to time, it will influence and will be able to dominate the global economy. Every part of the market industry will be evaluated and measured to ensure the quality of the halal compliance will be applied in every part, such as management like planning, organization, leading, controlling and part of production, marketing, promotion and so on. So it could be done by the availability of government agencies of Malaysia to satisfy the needs of Muslim consumer particularly. So from this finding, we will emphasize and focus on the agency of KPDNKK and MITI Ministries to ensuring the growth of ethical domestic and international trade. From this presentation also will view the practical concept applied by the KPDNKK and MITI Ministries that is posed about the history and identifying the responsibilities towards halal product regulations, challenges faced by this agency. It is in order to ensuring the best knowledge for consumers.
Next, I will explain about definition of KPDNKK and MITI Ministries. KPDNKK stands for the Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperatives and Consumerism. To handle and expand domestic commerce and consumer issues, the government has formed a separate KPDNKK. This ministry was established with the goal of promoting ethical domestic trade and safeguarding consumer interests. The Ministry of KPDNKK is the Malaysian government body in charge of overseeing and regulating consumer affairs. There are many functions of KPDNKK, such as determine and monitor the pricing of vital commodities, licensing the sale and distribution of such item, licensing the sale and distribution of necessary goods, coordinate petroleum, petrochemical and gas safety policies, law and activities, and lastly, business license for direct selling. MITI. MITI is the Malaysian government's Ministry of International Trade and Industry, is in charge of international trade, industry, investment, productivity, small and medium enterprise, development, financing institution, halal industry, automotive, steel and strategic trade. Malaysian MITI vision is to become a preferred investment destination and one of the world's most competitive trading nations, while the ministry's vision is to attract quality investment and further innovate industrial activities to produce high value-added goods and service, as well as raise Malaysian competitiveness among the top global trading nations. Many functions of the MITI Ministry, such as number 1, develop and implement industrial growth, foreign trade and investment policies. Number 2, to entice high quality international and domestic investment. Number 3, strengthening bilateral, regional and international trade contacts and cooperation to promote and grow Malaysian exports and of high value added goods and services. And lastly, improving national productivity and competitiveness, especially in the industrial and service sectors. Next, history about KPDNKK. On October 27, 1990, the Ministry of Domestic Trade, Cooperative and Consumerism (KPDNKK) was founded. Prior to this, the Ministry of KPDNKK, presently known as the Ministry of International Trade in the Industry, was in charge of KPDNKK. Following the Malaysian government change of leadership in March 2009, the Ministry of KPDNHAP, formerly known as KPDNKK, was renamed on June 11, 2009 from the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, KPDNHAP. The Ministry's mission is to encourage ethical domestic commerce grow while also safeguarding consumer interests. In 2009, the Ministry's responsibilities and powers were expanded to cover the franchise sector and cooperative. Next, history of MITI Ministry. The Ministry of Commerce and Industry, which is located in Government Office, Jalan Raja, was formed in April 1956. In February 1972, the Ministry was renamed the Ministry of Trade and Industry. The Ministry of International Trade and Industry, which is MITI, and the Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs, KPDNKK, was split apart on October 27, 1990. The Ministry of International Trade and Industry, or MITI, is Malaysian principal ministry responsible for the transformation of Malaysian industry as well as the creation of investment and trade policies. The ministry history dates back to the 1950s and it has played an essential part in the evolution of Malaysian economic environment from an agri-based economy in the 1960s to one driven by digitalization, high technology and sustainable today.
Next, I will explain about the second objective is the role of Ministry of KPDNKK and MITI in the regulation of halal product. First, the role of Ministry of KPDNKK will monitoring the Trades Act 2011, Section 28 and 29. Section 28 of the trade descriptions definition of halal order, it involves the material used to produce halal product, whether in according with Islamic law or not. For Section 29, description of trade certification and halal marking order. The halal certificate as well as the halal label indicate whether the display is valid or not. This section involves the halal logo on the product as well as the premise. Penalties or fines are imposed on those who commit offences. For Section 29, fine for organization or corporation for the second and substance offence, the fine is capped at 200,000. On the other hand, for Section 28, a fine of not more than 5 million for an organization or corporation, and for a second offence or which, following that, a fine of not more than 10 million was imposed. Next, its role monitoring and enforcement. Halal products, especially for product companies that have applied for halal certification. The process of obtaining halal certificate is the final stage of monitoring and enforcement. At this level, it is the responsibility of KPDNKK. KPDNKK will work with the Ministry of Health Malaysia and the local authorities. This cooperation facilitates the work because the MOH can see that for themselves the cleanliness of the premise for the determination of grade, and the local government can monitor the condition of the premise in the area where they work. The halal certificate also can be revoked. For the first offence, only the warning is given, but if persistent, the authorities can revoke their halal certificate. The role of Ministry of MITI in the regulation of halal product will introduce Malaysian halal product to the global market. The role of halal industry development, or we are familiar with HDC. HDC is an agency under MITI that is responsible for managing the marketing of halal product internationally. HDC and MITI are very diligent in managing the export of halal product as early as possible. The proof is, in 2007, Malaysians' export of halal food product to OIC members countries reached 2.24 billion ringgit Malaysian. Exporting halal product has no major problem or issue. This is because Malaysians who market halal produce abroad, and halal product that are sent meet and criteria set by JAKIM. Issues regarding the importation of halal goods mixed cargo. For the issue in 2011, the Royal Malaysian Customs Department says it's 22,750 kilograms of meat with suspected halal status after inspecting container at the North Port. As a result, the meat is not halal and has been mixed with carrots imported from Argentina. As halal logo from foreign countries, authorities such as MITI also have the role in ensuring that only logo certificates by JAKIM can be brought into Malaysia.
Next, I would like to share about the challenge faced by KPDNKK. The major obstacle of the halal issue in Malaysia is a legal one, as the country lacks a national halal law. The biggest impediment to the passage of this bill is a constitutional matter, because halal is tied to Islam. It's come under the state's authority. JAKIM officially are likely to have their own authority under the new Halal Act and will no longer be reliant on KPDNKK, given that the proposed Halal Act will transfer some of the existing jurisdiction from the agencies to JAKIM. There will undoubtedly be some challenging difficulties, particularly in technical areas. Next, the challenge for KPDNKK in facing issues related to the halal industry in Malaysia in the enforcement and prosecution of law related to the use of halal logos. KPDNKK has the authority to confiscate, compound and prosecute the company owner. As previously stated, KPDNKK oversees prosecution which include not just halal item but also a wide range of other crimes. KPDNKK likewise lack a halal prosecution section, although JAKIM has its own halal hub division under the monitoring and enforcement branch. When enforcement or prosecution are handled by two distinct parties, there is a general lack of effectiveness, although there are advances from time to time, such as KPDNKK issuing authorization card to JAKIM personnel. Lastly, the challenge in facing the attitude of trader or entrepreneur who do not care about production of a halal product that has been certified by JAKIM. Many entrepreneurs still lack a thorough knowledge of the halal concept and law. The KPDNKK has the authority to seize goods or product that utilize the halal emblem incorrectly. The Ministry of Domestic Trade and Consumer Affairs (KPDNHEP) Penang, for example, was able to discover the action of a premise in Bukit Tengah that was missing the halal emblem on its goods. It was discovered that the premise manufactured a variety product, including sesame oil, mustard seed oil, and other oil that were labeled with the halal emblem but had not been authorized by appropriate authorities. Increased competitiveness is one of MITI's problems in promoting halal product abroad. There is a lot of rivalry in the corporate sector. Consumer has a lot of option when it comes to halal food item. Therefore, competition is fierce. This is one of difficult that food business encounter. Furthermore, the lack of skilled worker is one that challenging in working a halal product. In order to cope successfully with the ever-changing economic environment, Malaysia must focus on human capital development to build a trained workforce that is productive, creative, inventive, and competitive. According to Ganesh, Malaysia is still falling behind in terms of being prepared to handle this force industry because most of the country's industries rely on physical work, which requires personnel. Apart from the due to a lack of effort to build in on technology in accordance with the demand of the sector, Malaysia is still reliant on foreign technology to assist it reach the fourth industry. Finally, local industry participation in R&D, where some R&D projects are carried out by the government, MNC and major firms, it is nevertheless shrinking. It disregards the government promote the private sector to expand R&D operation to provide local industry a competitive edge in terms of quality, innovative, and appeal. One of the frequently highlighted difficulties is SME entrepreneurs' lack of concern for the value of research and development R&D efforts. Given the ever-changing taste of customer, this activity is extremely significant in the content of halal food manufacturing. Entrepreneurs may increase product quality and create appealing and safe packaging through R&D operation.
Conclusively from the discussion above, demonstrated that halal regulation are an crucial facet or critical feature in Malaysia in terms of achieving the quality standards of Muslim country, which have the perfect execution of halal regulation towards any of halal industry such as halal products or services. The agencies that we are focusing on this paperwork are KPDNKK and MITI Ministries, which are in line of promoting and ensuring the development of halal and services of halal product maintains toward the domestic market and internationally, and at the same time protecting the rights of consumers. They are appointed as agencies in obtaining the highest qualities of halal product regulations and be a symbolic Malaysia as a halal hub to other Muslim countries. KPDNKK entrusted by JAKIM with halal certification by the help of other agency. And MITI Ministries hold an important role in developing the international industry of halal products and ensure the stability of halal compliance have been applied for such as halal food products, halal cosmetic, halal pharmaceutical and so on. So the recommendation from our discussion, the MITI, the KPDNKK and MITI Ministry should be divided and required, or for the agencies, for the government agencies should divide and require the complete job scopes towards involved agencies to qualify the best services. KPDNKK and MITI Ministries should improve their initiatives by implementing collaboration with HDC, which is Halal Development Corporation. From the discussion that we presented just now, I think that's all from us. Thank you for watching, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.